Good morning, folks. Welcome back in. It's Friday morning, July 12th. I'm Jesse Montano. This is Guerilla Sports Daily. Wrapping up the week. It's been a busy week. It's been a hectic week around the Guerilla Sports studios here. We've got some new faces in. We got things sorted out on the business side. We're moving forward. We're 2.5 weeks from the kickoff of the NFL season. So we're dialing everything in here on our side. Eminem's new album came out last night. It's been a crazy week. But that being said, not a whole lot going on last night into today in the world of sports. We had the ESPY Awards last night. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And I used to watch the ESPY Awards growing up. I mean, I wouldn't like mark it on the calendar and sit down and watch it, but every year when it came around, it was like, oh, nice. We'll sit down and see what's going on, see what happened. Because I remember they used to, best play, best comeback game, best game. Like I remember finding it interesting to see the roundup of everything that happened in sports this year and what people were viewing as some of the best moments and et cetera, et cetera. But I don't know. I've got some different thoughts on it after how it played out this year. Not necessarily that it's right, wrong, good or bad, anything like that. Just, I don't know, being a little bit more on this side of the sports world, having now been in media for almost a decade, which is crazy. 7 years. That's a pretty generous roundup to say almost a decade. But being on this side of it, I now just I've got some questions about how they do the ESPYs and how they arrive at some of those award winners and things like that. So we'll get into that. I want to talk about Paul Skeens, Pittsburgh Pirates rookie, who's making some headlines this week for, I guess, all overall good reasons. One, a little bit controversial, and then some exciting stuff. So we're going to talk about him as well. But I want to kick things off revisiting something we talked about yesterday. The Uruguay and Colombia, not necessarily the game, the brawl that took place in the stands after the game. Now, we posted the clip to Instagram yesterday where I was talking about it, and there was a lot of folks that jumped into the comments and said, hey, what you're saying is not true. Uruguay fans were just as culpable in starting this brawl as the Colombia fans. And people were citing other videos, things like that. So I did what we're supposed to do here in this business. And I went and looked at what people were sending me, what people were talking about, what people were saying I had gotten wrong. And here's what I'll say. Look, we looked at some more tape. We looked at some more video that had been published. And yes, I may have misspoken saying that it was just this unprovoked, Colombia fans came out of nowhere. Sure. I'll own up to that. Absolutely. It's one of those things where you find out new information and changes doesn't change your stance, but it changes the facts of what you know, and it changes things that you could have said. So I'm happy to go back and say, hey, look, there was people on both sides starting this. Where I will not change my stance, and where I still just flat out disagree with the people that are defending this by saying, Uruguay fans were also starting to fight. You've got wives, children, family members for Uruguay players in that section. You know that they're there. As clear as it may be in some of the video that there were Uruguay fans who were also, causing problems with Colombian fans, which I'm going to circle back to that because the overall message yesterday was this part of soccer, the hooliganism, all of that is part of the problem. So we'll circle back there in a second. Where I stand firm is it's pretty obvious that the players from Uruguay felt they needed to go into the stands because they could see their family members being attacked. Regardless of what started it, it's obvious that there were Colombian fans who were intentionally trying to get to family members of the Uruguay players. Again, I don't care who started it, how this all began. If that's the case, you're in the wrong. You are the one in the wrong. And the people that I saw yesterday defending the actions of Colombian fans just because a dust-up started between Uruguay fans and Colombian fans, it's not justifiable to me. There's wives and kids over there. Unjustifiable. Doesn't matter how it got started, what fan first threw a beer. If there's two fans that get into an altercation, let those two fans deal with it. Pushing yourself further into a section intentionally because you know who's sitting there. The fact that it got to the point where players were having to go into the stands, as the clip that we showed yesterday, Uruguay players saying, it's a disaster. We had to go in and protect our families. That's the issue. Now, let's go back to the comment that I want to circle back to. Well, hey, these guys started it. The main message that I kicked off this conversation with yesterday was I love. It's one of the things truly. I give Jay a lot of credit. He is begrudgingly at times helped educate me on soccer. There's times where I've asked him questions. He's looked at me like, are you an actual idiot? But he's done it. He's answered the questions. And it's helped me understand the game better. And it's helped me see the appeal almost seems a little bit too like small strokes here. But like he's helped me understand why so many folks are so passionate about it and why it's the most popular sport worldwide. Because I'll be honest, in the past when I've tried to get into soccer, as a guy who's played hockey since I was 5 years old, watched hockey since I was even younger, it's hard for me to get into sports that aren't super fast paced. There's not, action going on every minute. Jay has really helped me with that. The one thing that I can't stand about it, and the one thing that I think truly hurts the game, is this dark underbelly side of soccer where fights and brawls and teams and countries having specific portions of their fan base that are dedicated to fighting other fan bases. I think that's the weirdest thing in pro sports. I think there really isn't a place for it in sports. Look, I get people are probably going to hear that and think, soft and, oh my gosh, what are we doing? And everyone's afraid and everyone's blah, 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 blah. I said it yesterday. I love sports because I love seeing fierce competitors compete to win, compete to be the best on the field, on the ice, on the court. I think it's awesome. I think there's passion and I think there's emotions that can boil over within the context of the game. When that starts spilling into the crowd, I think you're having a different conversation. Now, the other part of this conversation with this match and this brawl in particular is, again, what we heard from players. Where's the security? Where are the police officers? Where is somebody who's supposed to be helping to break this stuff up when it inevitably happens? I also want to make sure that I'm pointing out fights in the stands are not exclusive to soccer. We see it every year in preseason NFL, in NHL games, in the NBA. NBA players, we talked about it a couple weeks ago, actually, right here on Guerilla Sports Daily. I think there's some NBA players who are getting a little bit too mouthy and a little bit too involved with fans in the stands, but that's kind of a separate point. So look, I'm not saying that fighting in the stands is exclusive to soccer. I'm saying having fans that are exclusively designated to fight in the stands is exclusive to soccer. But in all of those other instances I gave, any of the videos that you see a fight break out at an NFL game or an NBA game, the fight goes on for 15, 20 seconds, and then here come the yellow security jackets. Here come the police officers to break everything up. People are getting dragged away and arrested and all that. Roll that clip for me one more time, Jay. I don't see any security running in there. I see fans. I see players. I see beers being thrown. That's part of the problem. It seems that this behavior is just accepted. And this country, and I believe this stadium in particular, Jay, will be hosting the World Cup in just 2 years. Well, this has to cast massive question and a little bit of doubt over the safety and security of a venue like this, in a city like this. You can't have this kind of stuff happening. If this ends up being a one-off kind of an anomaly, okay, you can say that the worst got the best of the fans that day. But to me, the real thing that you can look at with this incident is where's the security, where are the people that are not necessarily even supposed to prevent this from happening, but stop this from happening once it started, breaking it up and ensuring people's safety. If you're a family member of a player going to the World Cup in 2 years, how would you feel safe after seeing an incident like this play out? That to me is the larger issue with all of this, more so than who started it. So like I said off the top, more than happy to admit, hey, look, I may have misspoken yesterday when we said that it was started by Colombian fans. I haven't seen anything that like definitively shows who started it, but and I was just told they're not playing at that venue in 2026, but it is in that same city. So this needs to be taken as a learning experience for the different governing bodies of soccer, all the way up to FIFA. You need to make sure that, especially if you're talking about women, kids, elderly family members, things like that, that they are somewhere that they can feel safe. And regardless of the outcome, what happens on the field, you are protecting those people in the stands, especially the little kids that we did absolutely see in that video being caught up in everything that was happening. 100% not okay. We're going to move on from this. I hate that we had to use 2 separate days to talk about this incident. And again, it's just another example of like, this has nothing to do with sports. Why are we okay with this kind of stuff happening? I hope we see some type of, actions from FIFA. I know it's not UEFA who does that one, but the different governing bodies say this is acceptable. We can't let this happen again. I'll be watching closely here in a couple of years, 2026, when the World Cup kicks off, to see what changes have been made, or even what changes have been made here over the next couple of days as we get finals for both Copa America and the Euro Cup. Look at that, Jay. We're kicking off today's show with soccer, usually wrapping it up, kicking today's show off with it. All right, let's talk about the ESPYs. I'm going to fly through some of these, and I'm not going to touch on all of the awards, but damn, I already know that I'm going to get sidetracked as I start running through these. I just said I'm going to quickly run through them, and I know that's not going to happen. So let's start with the major 4 North American sports. Let's go with the 2 that I felt were obvious and kind of easy. Shohei Ohtani, best MLB player, I think no doubt about it. What Ohtani has done over the last 2 years now, joining the Dodgers, I'm counting the free agency craziness as part of what he's done over the last 2 years. He has become, in my mind, the face of baseball, Major League Baseball at least, and probably even international baseball. His ability, and I know he's not pitching this year for the Dodgers, but his ability to pitch at the level that he did, as well as hit at the level that he did, I don't remember, and if there's one that you guys can tell me, jump in the chat, tell us in comments on YouTube. I don't remember ever seeing a player being able to dominate both sides of the ball. I know it's not really how you say that for baseball, but offense and defense the way that Shohei does, I think him winning best MLB, easy. Patrick Mahomes, best NFL player, easy. Back-to-back Super Bowls. He's the best player at the most important position in his sport, which, whether you like it, call it right, wrong, indifferent, it is the biggest, most popular sport in the United States. So, that, again, easy one. That makes sense to me. Patrick Mahomes is another one that and there's going to be some Broncos fans out there that don't like to say this. He's one of those players I consider myself lucky to be able to watch play live in his prime. Now, here's where I think it starts to get a little, and this is what's going to lead to the conversation that I want to talk about. Luka Doncic, best player in the NBA. Okay. He had an outstanding playoffs. He was amazing in the playoffs up until the finals, but he had a really great playoff. So, okay, I know he was getting some MVP buzz right there near the end of the year before, of course, it did go to Nikola Jokic for the 3rd time. Okay, you can sell me on it. Connor McDavid, best player in the NHL for the 3rd year in a row. Again, his playoffs were special, were historic, record-breaking even. Connor McDavid now owns the most assists in a single playoff season in NHL history. Unbelievable playoffs for him. Sure, he went completely quiet in the 2 biggest games of the year, no points, and only 2 shots on goal in games 6 and 7 as his team loses the Stanley Cup. Sure. Up until that, he was absolutely outstanding. However, 3 years in a row for McDavid, and each of the last 2 years, his playoffs were not as special. One of the last 2 years, he did not win MVP, nor was he the league leader in points. And I look at this, and look, it's the ESPYs. It's the ESPYs. But I do find it funny. Nathan MacKinnon wins the Hart Trophy as the league's MVP and the Ted Lindsay as the most outstanding player in the NHL as voted by other players in the NHL. So I do just find it funny that McDavid wins the best player in the NHL, which this is where I wanted to start the conversation. Looking at these 4, Ohtani, Doncic, Mahomes, McDavid. Are these just awards for like, here's who most like casual fans or, you know, the sports guys who watch every sport equally and they're not real experts on any one, but they know a lot about all of them. Is this just kind of like who they think is, who's the best player? Not necessarily who had the best season, who had the best year, who's the most impactful, just like, who's the best player? That's a little bit what it feels like. Now, the one hole that is poked in that theory is the Luka Doncic win. But like I said, he had some MVP buzz. He had a really strong postseason. I don't know. 2 of the picks felt obvious, so I'm fine with it being lazy. But the Luka and McDavid ones just felt lazy. I don't know. It almost kind of takes it out of it for me. Now, let's keep going here. Scottie Scheffler, best golfer. Duh. That's an easy one. Makes a ton of sense. Comeback athlete of the year, Simone Biles, who is heading back to the Olympics later this year. Look, I actually like this one. I can get why people would say, like, was she really a comeback athlete? She kind of stopped competing. I like this one a lot. I went on a show with D-Mac yesterday. Well, I called into D-Mac's show. He didn't invite me on. I was listening, and I wasn't liking some of the stuff he was saying, so I just called him and got on the show. I think the Olympics are a different beast. You get so few chances to do it. You get so few chances to go represent your country on that stage, right? It's not a world championships. It's not an Olympic trials. Nothing like that. This is the Olympics. It's once every 4 years. And you only, even if you're, the premier athlete for your sport, you only get a few of these. Katie Ledecky, who will be competing again this year. I remember when she first burst onto the scene, I believe as a teenager. And it feels like that was really recent because it was only a couple Olympic cycles ago. But we are now at the point, because these are only every 4 years, where Katie Ledecky is like kind of a veteran. She's in the back half of her Olympic career. And it's crazy how quickly it goes. For Simone Biles to be able to collect herself and put her back on that level where she's going to go compete at the Olympics, I think it's an amazing story. I like comeback athlete of the year going to Simone Biles. Caitlin Clark, I thought she probably could have had more than these. Caitlin Clark wins both female college athlete of the year and the best record-breaking performance, as she is now the NCAA's all-time points leader in basketball, men's or women's. Loved that one. Lamar Jackson won the best play, and we were all laughing here this morning. Like, I don't even need to see the play. I'm sure he scrambled, broke 5 tackles, then either threw for a touchdown or ran it in himself. Lamar Jackson is an unbelievable athlete to watch. He's so much fun to see improvise. He's one of those truly, I give my football friends a hard time, because one of my favorite things about hockey is that in the blink of an eye, in an instant, something amazing can happen. Something electric an electric play can just break out of nothing. And like I said, just happens so quickly. Lamar Jackson is one of the few players in the NFL where I feel like he's got that same type of, like, it looks like nothing, then suddenly in the blink of an eye, he does something amazing. There's so much in football that is scripted, not in terms of how the result is going to come out, but this is what the play is. This is where these guys are running. We're handing the ball off here. It's all very like you kind of have an idea for what's going to come next. Obviously, players can, break a tackle and things like that. But Lamar Jackson is one of the few players, and Patrick Mahomes is another one, that right as it looks like they're down and out, the play is done, you're ready to turn your attention away, they can just break something loose and make something amazing out of nothing. Lamar Jackson could probably win best play every year. Nick Saban was honored as an icon in sports after his retirement from the University of Let's try that one again. Nick Saban was honored as an icon after his retirement from the University of Alabama this year. The retirement, I remember I audibly reacted to. I did not see that coming. The success that he's had there as a coach, as a recruiter, has been amazing. I have no problem with him being acknowledged as an icon of sports. Then the last two that I want to talk about here, Aja Wilson of the Las Vegas Aces, back-to-back WNBA champs, named the Female Athlete of the Year, and Patrick Mahomes named the Male Athlete of the Year. When I said that here in the Grill Sports Studios, there was a bunch of people that were like, is he really the Male Athlete of the Year? Again, best player in the most popular sport in the U.S., at probably the most important position in that sport. I get it. I don't know, though. I would have maybe given it to Shohei, who, like I said, pitched and hit at all-star levels last year. But hey, I just work here. What do I know? I like the ESPYs. I like that we get one more chance in the year to acknowledge greatness in sports. I do. I know there's going around Twitter and Instagram this morning, there's a lot of people that highly disagree with a lot of the awards that were given out last night. But again, to me, that's kind of what sports are about. There's supposed to be disagreement. There's supposed to be people that see things differently. I think that's good. I think that's healthy. Let's just say I'm not tuning in the same way I used to, though. Moving on. Paul Skeens. Let's wrap up here with Paul Skeens. Rookie pitcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Let's start with the semi-controversy from earlier in the week. He was pulled in the 7th inning while having a bid for a no-hitter on the table. He was pulled by his manager. And let's see here. We have a quote. He had totaled 99 pitches at that point and was pulled by his manager after throwing 7 innings of no-hitters. Manager Derek Shelton said that Paul Skeens was tired and that his reasoning was as the pitches were going on, he says his stuff didn't look the same. That has been obviously met with a lot of pushback. Was a quote, former MLB infielder, Trevor Plouffe. Every smart dude I've talked to in multiple front offices says they have no idea why 100 pitches is some magic number. They all cite being able to see dips in data and biometrics as a much clearer indication of stress. So I think I speak for all of us. What is you doing? Pulling him at 99 pitches while he's throwing a no-hitter as a rookie. To have a chance to throw a no-hitter as a rookie, again, I'm not going to make a big deal out of it, but that was surprising to see. Now, the main reason I want to talk about Paul Skeens is he is also, this week, been named as the 5th ever rookie to be named as a starting pitcher in the MLB All-Star Game. I'm only bringing this up because I don't think the average person realizes what a massive step up the major leagues are in any sport. Hockey, basketball, football, baseball. Any of the 4 major North American. How big the gap is between pro and everything else, or major league and everything else. To be able to step in as a rookie and have the level of impact that Paul Skeens is having, to not only be named an all-star, but to be named a starter, is amazing. I think back to just a few years ago when Cale Makar arrived on the scene here in Colorado, stepped right into the NHL playoffs and kind of made the statement as like, yep, easy league. I can do this. Those players are not, you don't see them every year. They don't grow on trees. Players that can make the jump from, again, juniors, AAA, college, whatever the path is, players that can make that jump straight to the major leagues and be impactful are unicorns. And it's something special to watch. Paul Skeens may be enough to get me to tune in to the MLB All-Star Game alone. That's it, guys. That's it for this week. Like I said, I got a new Eminem album to finish up. I started on the drive-in this morning. You're supposed to listen to it in order for it to make sense. Our boy Marshall Mathers put out a tweet last night right before the album released at midnight saying, listen to it in order. It's really one long track. So I got, I think, 6 or 7 tracks in. Loving it so far. Just banger after banger after banger. Just like Eminem's entire career. That's going to do it for me, guys. Jay running the board, as always, all week, I believe. 5 for 5 on the dailies for you this week, Jay. Just absolutely crushing it every single day. Making sure that we've got our visual aids here to go along with it. You guys can hear me. You guys can see me. All that good stuff. We got a hockey show coming up here at noon. Myself and I believe JJ will be here. I'm going to text JJ to make sure that he's going to show up for that. Talking Abs, some more breaking news this week for them, some titles getting doled out. We're also going to take a look at what the Avs should do with Cal Ritchie, how we see that fit. Also, we'll touch a little bit on Alan Walsh and his podcast where he talked about the Jonathan Drouin extension and why the one-year deal made the most sense. Then at 2, we will have Guerilla Football Denver coming your way. Brandon Cristal on the mic for that one, 2 o'clock right here on Guerilla Sports. That's going to do it, guys. Thanks so much. You guys have a great weekend. Thanks so much for tuning in all week long. You guys are awesome. Starting next week, even more, we're moving into another new phase. We launched Guerilla Sports Daily and our weekly slate of shows here about a month ago, and now we've got all this. We're moving into another phase of our content production here, so things are only continuing to get bigger and better here at Guerilla Sports, and it's a really exciting time. Hardworking, stressful time for us, but really, really exciting. I'm looking forward to everything in the future. So for Jay running the board, I'm Jesse Montano. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday.